listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Bar Rescue After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Bar Rescue After Show.
Welcome, everybody. Biggest for doing. We're here doing Bar Rescue.
You know who that is, Phil?
I'm unfamiliar with this song.
Okay, this is the Hawaii Five-0 theme song, sung by Sammy Davis, and it's entitled, well, his lyrics that he created are, "You Can Count on Me," and to me, it's John Taffer when he comes into the bars.
All right. Well, we are doing Karaoke Katastrophe, Episode 8. Obviously, the bar is Dimples, world famous, but I have a confession. I don't really know it that well.
Oh, you don't
But
know
you
Dimples?
do.
Yes, I was, oh my God, so many times drunk at Dimples, and yeah, unceremoniously removed a few times as well, back in the 90s. It's across from Warner Brothers and all the big studios, so it was just an easy go-to.
Yeah, and you know, what was interesting, what I loved about this episode is that it did have that history. And we'll discuss, because it's funny, John, as much of an expert as he is, he's got 30 years of experience, or and 800 bars, or 800 plus, as he always says. But this guy, as he says, 50 years. So seeing that kind of battle between him and Sal.
And also, yes, and at the same time, I'm always just impressed that John knows clubs and a karaoke bar. I like when he branches out. He shows that it's just not about your standard bar and grill.
Yeah. And, you know, also the intriguing part for me is I just laugh at these other bars with quote, an established history. You know, you can't change the name. We have a history. When did you start? 2010?
Yeah.
Really?
Or you have a history of failing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad, he didn't get into changing the name, or that would have been a big no-no.
No, because, and, you know, I like that John recognizes you stay with the brand. The brand is good.
Yep.
It's just something's got to change, and you know, we obviously talk about that. But let's talk about, we didn't really get too much of a recon on this one, as we typically do. But
I wonder, is it because in production they just needed more time to show things later?
I think so. I mean, you know, plus to a certain extent, you know, each episode is so uniquely structured. Even though I think literally from a production standpoint, they shoot the same thing over again, you know.
Recon, stress tests.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and they shoot the same amount of stuff, but they kind of know, okay, each story has to be different. So in the editing process, they select which parts of it make sense for which and create that uniqueness for the episode. And I think the uniqueness was later on. I mean, the recon didn't need to be there, and that's why it was ultimately short.
The reconstruction.
No, the recon. Oh,
part. I'm sorry. You're right. Just them looking in the. I think that's one of the reasons why I also think the bar isn't as much of a failure as some of the other bars we see. In fact, I don't think it. I just think it needed updating. But I know a lot of people who still go to Dimples. You're right across from all the studios. So when you wrap a taping, or you're taping a sitcom or a game show, whatever it is you're doing, it's easy to say, hey, you know what? Why don't you just go across the street and get a couple beers? Yeah. And the word gets out to the rest of the staff and the rest of the people who worked on the show that day. We're just going across the street. What has changed is a lot of productions have left Los Angeles. So a lot of those stages that I know when I first got out here were just cranking and jammed, and parking was difficult, and now not so much. I mean, the offices are still loaded up with people working, but the stages in terms of production there's not as many. So he said that took an effect on his sales.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, if we had John right now, I would ask him, because there's a fine line, you know, here at AfterBuzz, we try to be constantly ever evolving. But I want to ask John, what's a fine line between if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but at the same time, you do have to evolve, and that's kind of the mentality that Sal took was, okay, you know, he was the first of its kind, and it was working, so he didn't want to break what was working, but then obviously...
Okay, I'm going to try and answer for John, but I tell you guys all the time about Kaizen and Toyota and how they are always... They challenge everyone who works on the staff, from the guy on the assembly line to the CEO at the top of the company, that we always need to be in a state of continuous improvement. It's a Japanese philosophy called Kaizen. So no matter where we're at, we always need to be open to trying to do things better. To the point, and I remember, Phil, I think I recently relayed this fact to you, that Toyota, at the end of the year, any of their company secrets that they have, they hand over to the competition. So I don't know if it's a Bluetooth piece of technology or a certain feature that they've put into their cars that no one else has. They hand it all over, all the information, the technology, the specs. They hand over to the competition, and they do that so their people never sit back and go, "Oh, who cares? We've got the nicest leather seats, or we've got the, we're the only ones that have."
With the most fuel efficient, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. And so we can't just sit back on that. So now we gave that away. Oh, damn, what do we do now? Well, we got to do better. So I think you always need to be in that space. You always need to be in that space. And I always geek out on driving by McDonald's or Taco Bell. If you look at either of those today and you see what they're doing, I see more McDonald's now being knocked down and new buildings being built. And my first knee jerk, when I first saw it, I was like, well, God, what are they doing? These guys just have money to light on fire. It's a perfectly good building. It's a McDonald's. How many McDonald's fail? I mean, the percent is so low. And yet you see them now, newer buildings, a lot cleaner. The menus are classier, healthier. Taco Bell especially has become much, the menu, the style of the menu, gourmet items, health items. But I think that's what the greats do. So that's how they stay great. Whereas you see a Burger King hasn't done anything. And to me, you walk into Burger King now, you might as well walked in '94. It's the same store, but I think it's reflected why they're going downhill. So I mean, with Dimples, great place, whatever. But come on, you didn't want to pull all that crap out of there and clean it up?
Well, here's also the interesting point. You're speaking about that from a global perspective. Now, speak to it from a Hollywood perspective, because there is a old Hollywood mentality and a new Hollywood mentality. And, Steven's been there. Steven, our engineer in the booth.
What up?
He watched the episode with us, and he said how there is still that, the birthday thing is a little bit weird. How did you state that about the girls?
I mean, the birthday thing, I was there when they were doing it. It was just kind of awkward to be there, and it was awkward to be around, because even if the girls are having a good time, anyone who's looking at it is worried, like, wait, like, is this really happening right now? Like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, what's going on? That's
it was very uncomfortable. It was very creepy.
Yeah, and I feel like in many ways that's an old Hollywood mentality.
Maybe. I was just, my girlfriend just kept saying, he's a creeper.
I mean, he is.
He's a creepy old man. I'm sure. I mean, but this is why you have to embrace change, because it doesn't fit. I was uncomfortable watching that.
Yeah, I mean, and he just really didn't see it.
Yeah, I give him credit for accepting as much as he did. And again, you have to have a level of insanity not to accept, just on a financial. If you look at the finances alone, what you're being offered, and we've seen people that are actually insane, and that's why I think we've seen a lot of addicts who own bars, a lot of drunks, drug addicts, and then only an addict has a level of insanity where they won't see, oh my God, they're giving me $150,000, $200,000 worth of equipment, labor, expertise. He wasn't that far gone. Once I heard collector, and then that kind of bleeds into hoarder, and then that always gets me nervous, because Phil, we know a lot of them. We've talked about them, off the air, the worst, and a whole other level of insanity. And granted, we see it on on the Hoarders TV show to the extreme degree, but there's more hoarders, functioning hoarders out there than we realize, and they're all effing nuts. And so when I saw that he was collecting a lot of stuff, I was like, oh God, he's gonna he's really not going to take it well. But
Well, for me, what I liked about John in this episode, we always talk about how he wants to do it for the owner, and sometimes he loves the owners. Sometimes, he still wants to help them, regardless of whether he may or may not like them. This one, I felt he wanted to do it for the bar, for the history, for Americana.
Yeah, I agree.
And I really love that aspect of it.
Yeah, I agree. It was nice to see the nostalgia and hanging on to it. I also think he or Three Baller or both knew with this that this bar is going to be seen by all the people who pull strings in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So it was important to go from 36 to 60 hours
For the renovation.
Yes, and I also think it did need that much work because structurally, it's I could tell you from there it was always sheetrock falling. There was beams exposed. It was dingy. It needed far more than paint. What they did had to be done.
And I also I liked John's tactfulness in all of this. It wasn't just removing the memorabilia. It was saying now we put in extra seats and they're worth a total of $80,000 to you a year.
Right.
And trying to break it down to them because I feel I don't know if you disagree with me or agree, but I think Sal, having built this successful place, once there is that greatness, like I don't think he's a failure because he's built this up for many years and it's been successful. So that success can be found again. It just needs to be nurtured and rediscovered in many ways.
It's not that he wouldn't be considered a failure. It may have passed him by, and that happens too with people, and they get old and it passes them by, and that's when they need to retire or get out.
I hate to say this, but I want to get your guys' take and in terms of the chef and him, they were very old, and I hate to be ageist.
This was hard.
And
my girlfriend started crying, and that made me cry over the chef.
Over Roberto.
Yes, because my girlfriend's an immigrant. Phil, you're an immigrant.
Yes.
And Maria knows. I know from her dad, who's such a hard worker and such a pleaser. And when you're an immigrant, a lot of immigrants have such a sense of pride in their work, and they're just proud people, and they're also really hard workers, and they also really want to please. And then it's hard because there's all these barriers, a cultural barrier, a language barrier, and you could see it was just sad that it was sad to see him get beat up and yelled at someone that age. And, to me, as I said to my girlfriend, I blame the owner. I didn't blame him. And, Phil, this is where you'll totally understand this, I think, when I say this. If I didn't, say, a year and a half ago, say to you, this place is a mess. No more frat house. It's got to be clean, counters clean, dishes put away, floors mopped, floors done. If I didn't do all that stuff, you wouldn't have bothered, at your age, and you would just be like, okay. And it would have been what it was, which was a frat house dump behind the scenes. And I think something that would have bled into our productions and our business. That guy should have done that. I blame him. I don't blame the chef. Yeah, you can have that attitude, well, the chef should know better, but it's always the guy at the head of the, who's the driving force. So I think that guy would do anything you asked him to do. I don't think he was lazy. He wanted to please. He just was trained improperly to just kind of cook and sell food. And, I know keeping a burger on there for 15 minutes. And I think that when Chef Brian got so into 12 o'clock, I was confused by that. You have to sometimes know your players. Yeah. You have to know the cards that you dealt with. And sometimes they do on the show. I like when they know, okay, coach isn't going to get it. Let's create 2 or 3 simple drinks that he can get, and we go from there. And I think you got to know. And so with the chef, I think there was a lot of good in him. I know he was older, and I know he was overweight. I think if he had a competent line cook or assistant and a simple system, I think he would have been okay. But I felt really sad.
I did feel sad. And, speaking to the Brian chef method, I thought it was amazing. I mean, if you really broke down the science, it just kind of helps you organize things. That's what it really was intended to do.
Right.
And,
Well, he's amazing. I mean, he's the best one. That's why, they bring him back. We've had him on the show, and that's why John always brings him in. But too sophisticated for our boy.
Yeah. I mean, once you're kind of set in your ways, it really is a little bit tough.
Yeah, just keep it simple. But again, even the presentation, the way you had the food and the wraps, it'd be interesting. We need to go there. We wanted to broadcast there, but with WrestleMania and so many other things going on at AfterBuzz, we weren't able to go over. But I do think we need maybe our finale. We should do
we'll figure out something.
to get over.
Dimples is big.
I want to go to Weber's because Weber's is right, is also close by. Weber's lies. I know that the Surf Bar is out of business, and the reason I know that from season 1 is because the big giant sign is on display at 3 Ball.
Wow.
In their lobby. So, but anyway, yeah, we have to get over there to see what's going on. With the stress test, I feel like these bartenders were better than some of the other ones we've seen. Well, not the worst. Not the worst.
It's certainly not the worst, but he was saying how he had to keep blowing the horn, because they had their little.
He was great, by the way. I think he was fun. He wasn't abusive.
No, he wasn't.
Some of them are abusive and cruel. He was more fun with it.
And I think that's because of that game, the air horn. I think anytime you don't have to be the asshole where you're like, well, no, it's the horn.
It's the
you.
horn,
Don't keep messing up. I won't have to do the horn. If you funnel it that way, you don't become the asshole. And I thought that was a smart play.
It was great.
But it's tough. I don't know. They didn't seem that bad, but he kept saying that he had to blow the horn so many times. So,
well, I think these guys come in truly are mixologists, which to me in the last 5 years that's become the thing, and it's only getting stronger. It's no longer being a bartender; it's being a mixologist. Yeah. And so you see these amazing concoctions now, mojitos, and all these other crazy drinks that people are making and consuming today. So the average bartender, I would be lost. I'd be interesting. I hate doing shows without Chris Lee and Dorinda because they're
the experts.
Oh my God! I did 2 or 3 years of bartending, but those guys, it's crazy. They did, there's like 30 or 40 years between them.
For me, I get confused by if I see the menu, I pick the simplest thing on the menu.
Yeah.
So I get.
Well, if you watch Chef Ramsay's show, he's always about the more simple menus for that reason.
Yeah.
You ever go to Jerry's Deli? It's a franchise here in LA, and it's like a 5-page book. There's so many items on the menu. I get dizzy.
Yeah, it's not fun. But I love it when they come up with, even if for me, I don't necessarily know all the drinks to any bars that I go to, but if it's simplistic and it has, like in tonight's episode, jumping a little bit ahead, the theme of it's all karaoke, it's all in groups. People come in with groups of 3 usually, if not more, and so keeping it to that theme, I thought that was a brilliant idea. But back to the stress test, they kind of focused more on the kitchen rather than the bartenders, but both, the ticket time was going up, obviously, and then the incident that happened, with Roberto, him having to go to the hospital, but the drinks, they were losing it too, and that became a problem when you had both the kitchen and the drinks just failing.
It's funny because that bar, it's interesting that they would fail the stress test because we've noticed with the other bars that they don't really have crowds. They're not really successful bars. So when John brings in his crowd for the stress test, they always fail. Dimples, I haven't been there in the last, say, 5 years, but I can't see it not having big, Fridays and Saturday nights at least because of karaoke. Steve, do you ever go to Dimples?
The last time I went to Dimples was at about 5 o'clock on a Friday night, and I stayed there till about 11, and it was pretty dead until 11, and then even then it was not a rush. It was more of just kind of slowly filled up. And I think the problem is like we're focusing on the bar and we're focusing on the food, but if like everyone who comes into town wants to do karaoke, they're like, oh, where's a place we can just do it any night? We want to go do karaoke. They go Dimples, but there's no one there on a Monday, Tuesday, because that's where the working class go to grab a drink after work, like you were saying. They don't go there to sing. And it's not equipped. They don't have any songs.
Is it because also karaoke is so popular now that there's karaoke everywhere in LA? Like, I know people go to Chinatown, Koreatown, that they say there's great places there.
Well, there's tons of great gimmicks people use. So, like, usually it's Wednesday nights, they'll have the gong karaoke, where if you suck, they'll hit the gong and knock you off stage. But really, I think the failing point for Dimples was that people were going there not as a karaoke bar, yet they still had all the stuff there for being karaoke. You had to wear a piece of their costume that was set up there, which is like from the 30 years of Sal owning the place, and it's really gross. The wigs haven't been washed. You have to wear something to sing, though, so that's kind of like a downside, kind of dissuading people from singing. and they didn't have any songs. They were so outdated that you didn't have any songs past like 1995.
You know, it's funny. Truth be told, and now that I'm thinking of it, when we went there, I wasn't ever thinking karaoke. It was just, it was a dive bar across the street. Great, let's go across the street and get drunk. That's it. That's the only reason we all went there.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if you do want to make it a karaoke bar, I mean, for me, I know I will not get on stage unless I know the song implicitly. You know, and what do I know implicitly? Is anything dumb on the radio currently? And so if you don't have, I mean, they had 8 tracks.
Oh my gosh.
You know, at least let's upgrade to a CD player here.
And that's the other thing too. Again, with evolving and continuous improvement, you know, how would you ever let that go? Do you think I would ever let that go, Phil? Do you think I would ever like be, oh wait, we'll just stick with 8 tracks? You know, I mean, you have to put money back into your business.
Steven, do you even know what an 8-track is? I mean, luckily I actually do, but
Oh, I know what an 8-track is. I think it was kind of, they didn't go into it in the episode, but what I kind of thought that John would kind of ream him up for is they have 8 tracks, yet every performance they record and give you a DVD of at the end of it, which is kind of just throwing money away. If it's not good quality, nobody's going to want it anyway.
Yeah, that's true too. Oh, I forgot about that. That's yeah, thanks for reminding us. Yeah, that's lame too.
yeah, oh my God. I don't know. For me personally, you know, just as a forewarning to you fans, and you guys can dispute me on iTunes about this all you want. I'm just really not into karaoke. So
Okay, here's what I can tell you what I'll do the pro of karaoke. You know, you get a good group of friends together. It's a lot of fun. Everyone is drinking. The more drunk they get, the more they sing stupid stuff. Ha ha, everyone has laughs. The con is you see people that are professional karaokeers, if that's even a term, who are aspirational singers. They want to be professional singers, and they're not, so they look at this as their big night. So they'll come into the bar, they'll maybe buy 1 soda for the whole night, and they'll just sit there. They'll get all dressed up, and they'll just wait their turn, sing their song, then be seated. And there's other like people, and they even kind of know each other. And those are the people, to me, that ruin it.
that ruined the
It's not
experience.
fun. Yeah, because it should just be a slop fest of the, I don't know, but other people would say different. Other people might say, hey, if they're good singers, then it's giving you good entertainment. But I'd rather listen to a jukebox.
Yeah, it's true. So again, you know, with the stress test, they didn't really. I mean, the most eventful thing was Roberto going to the hospital.
Yeah, oh, and you could
It
see
was,
like Chef Brian felt bad. It was great. You know, you could just see how nice those guys are. You know, and even John apologized to him the day after. Well, but the day after he yelled at him, the morning after he yelled at him, before the heart attack or whatever it was. But are we led to believe that poor guy worked till 8 in the morning cleaning and then worked the stress test?
I don't know.
I
That's a
bet.
good
I mean, I
question.
think so because they do this in such a short amount of time. So clearly, that was gonna happen to him.
Yeah, that is rough.
It was inevitable, and it's funny they benched him for the whole thing. Remember, they said the doctor said give him a day off. You know.
Yeah.
But then we never saw him again.
Yeah, I mean I mean, for me, the tough part is, okay, how do you handle a situation like that? As Chef said, you know, this is the most cooking I've had to do on Bar Rescue.
I like seeing him though. He was great. It was like
I
done.
actually want to see them. I want to see them in action sometime.
Well, it was great. We saw it there. He banged it out.
Yeah.
He had it. You know, he had it under control.
So
His professionalism as a chef really showed, though, as well. Because, I mean, I've worked in kitchens for 6 years now, and I've been a server, I've been cook, I've been all that stuff. And people will, when you have that gigantic rush, when you have so much going on you can't handle it, you will break down, and you will seize up, and you will have a nervous breakdown. Having a chef being able to hold that guy and be like, look, just take deep breaths, just calm down, because that can happen to anyone no matter how old you are. And having someone who's in that position that can calm you down and get you back on track, before he kind of realized there was a medical problem, but still, it's very professional to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think it was cool. You know, again, we love these guys. So
yeah. Let's talk about the remodel, because, you know, in terms of we're talking about the karaoke aspect of it, but
Right.
you know, just, you know, you're talking about that people want to see people act stupid and drunk. You know, and as I was watching it, it was very claustrophobic, obviously, because of the memorabilia. And, you know, that was one of the first things. Open it up, get the walls down,
Phil,
let people...
clutter. Oh, my God. How much do I tell you? We just recently did a remodel here, and we just decluttered this place, and people are happier, it seems like, unless I'm just lying to myself.
But, oh, they are.
You know, they don't know why they're happier, but I can tell you why, because we decluttered. You know, clutter, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. It creates stress. And it took away seating. I mean, as we know.
And also, you know, for the bar, like, again, you want to see people having fun, you know. I think, for me, if I see other people having fun, then I want to equal their fun.
Of course.
You know, and but if I don't see it, then I'm going to be miserable at the bar.
It's like you want a party, you want a festive atmosphere, you want music playing. And by the way, you know, back in the day, when I was single, and I had friends who were newly single or were wanting to meet girls, I'd say, guys, you got to be having fun. If you're sitting here miserable at the bar, being quiet, you know, no one's going to approach you. But if they see you having fun, they see you charismatic, you see you're in your own world, you're doing your own thing, that's what's going to attract people. But it's the same with the bar. You want it to be festive. Yeah. You want it to be fun. Speaking of the remodel, I mean, they took up the tiles, Phil. They brought those walls down. I mean, those walls were old and moldy. I mean, he got a full. I mean, John had the yellow construction hat.
Yeah. 2 days.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
60 hours.
But that was it wasn't just a cosmetic. I mean, that was a full reconstruction they did. And I mean, the what they did with the karaoke thing. I mean, you want to talk about the aftermath?
Sure.
After the construction was done, yeah.
Oh well, I wanted to, you know, just in terms of how it was actually done. You know, I love the idea of, you know, people sing in the shower, right? I never understood this concept, right? I sing better in the shower, and I thought it was just more of a conscious thing, like, oh, you know, no one can actually hear me. But the fact that to hear that there's actual science behind it. Okay.
I knew that from doing music with Maria. That's what they told us. You know, it's like that's why you sing better in the shower, and if you go in a booth and sing, it can be better.
But you know, it just intrigued me. Like, if that's your job, it's to make this. I mean, their whole presentation of it, just getting people up on stage and then singing. Like, what do you do if someone's singing bad? I turn them down. Like, that's your solution? You know, I mean, you're supposed to, you know, I mean, in our early days when we didn't know certain things of, you know, we tried to do a lot of stuff here at AFTERBUZZ that no one knew. Yeah, it was frustrating, but our solution wasn't, just don't do it.
Yeah.
It was, all right, well, let's figure this out.
Just turn the mic off.
Yeah, like, what?
Yeah. Well, you know, he also, anytime he tried to do anything, you could hear the static.
Yeah.
I mean, even just the sign, tubes are broken. Tubes?
Yeah.
Tubes on I mean, you know, just the fact he's using a speaker that operates with tubes tells you, you know, oh my God. And then the 8 tracks. I mean, go no further than that.
I mean, it's just a very defeatist mentality of like, okay, I mean, I get it. If something goes down that night and you can't figure it out, that's one thing. But like, you live in Los Angeles, you know, there's experts. We live in a global community. Just go online, check it out, Bing it, look, you know, and you'll find some sort of solution for this.
With this new signage, did he write world's oldest karaoke bar?
World's first.
World's first. That's great. That's great. That's great. And I love what he did with the good memorabilia.
Yeah.
Put it in a nice shelf and lit it. What did you think of the colors in the new sign?
I liked it. I don't know. Again, it's tough for me because I don't...
thumbs down from Steven in the booth. It's funny. Yeah, my girlfriend said the same thing.
They didn't like it?
Didn't like it. Oh. Steven, weigh in.
I mean, we had the nice, like, they had drinks called the Zha Zha. They had the, what was it, the Marilyn Monroe drink, or the Shirley Dimples. I mean, it was very old Hollywood style, but then seeing the outside with the pastels and stuff like that, it just didn't look... Honestly, I wasn't attracted to it. I thought it looked better before with nice dark lighting and the red and very deep colors as opposed to the pastel lights.
Yeah, Maria said the same thing, but I you know, had to just stick up for John. I'm just continue to be a blind soldier. I just got to follow my leader right into hell. I told Maria, I'm like, well, then you don't get it, just like I said to Dorinda, then you don't get all the other changes.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can see the point with not being as retro, and going with a lime green inside. I feel like, a lot of times you see these renovations and they look spectacular on video, but if we probably went in the place, they may not look as cool. I feel like this was the opposite. I feel like the other version looked better on video because, just it was very dim and he had some funky lights in different places and he had all the memorabilia. But I think if we went in there, and when we do go in person, I think you'll see a nicer, more slick environment.
Yeah, and plus too, I mean, think of it. As of now, that bar has such a history, and you guys know it so well. And so, if you guys have a notion of it, and you've seen pictures all over the place of this. I mean, think of how many people that are going there that have tweeted about it before the renovation. You know what I mean? So that gets engraved in your mind, and you're like, oh, that does look good. Right. So I think it'll be a shift. I think, but I think ultimately I do like it, and I think it's exciting.
If again he did, I mean, that guy got himself 6 figures worth of renovations, easy.
All right, here's my worry. Do you? They did that little blurb at the end. Sal slowly.
Oh yeah, no, he's gonna start. Yeah, no, he's gonna do that. There's no way he'd give up the mic either. I think the girl got the mic for a little while, but Sal will be taking the host mic back.
But for what reason? Why do you want? I get it. I understand.
Because it's not about the money for him anymore, Phil. This is it. This is
the last hurrah.
He's having fun. He gets to be on the mic. It would be like me trying to host all the shows here. I try to host as little as I can, but it'd be like, no, F you. It's my thing. I'm gonna host, even though I'm lame. I'm not as good as half the people here, but it's my thing, and I'm gonna do it. And I think that's what he's gonna do. But we don't know that. We'll find out when we go over there. But I just think he probably really enjoys it. That's how he connects with the people. He gets to feel like he's a Vegas act to a degree.
But I mean, you see so many, I want to say tactfully, older people. And I think that what I love about some of them is that they try to have fun rediscovering the new stuff. Like, what music are you listening to? Oh, you're listening to Macklemore? What is that? Oh, it's called Thrift Shop? What is this? And just discovering that and just getting into those kind of shenanigans. I think just let loose and have fun in that way. Don't hold on to the nostalgia of, a 1950s song.
Can't. Hey, listen, in business, you just can't. And we see it in Hollywood a lot. I see both. I see the guys who are just out of it and are doing everything they can to hang on. But they're just mentally too old. And then I see the other ones who, mentally are very young and are friends with young people and open-minded and give you the leeway and say, okay, is that what kids are into now? That's what, do you think that, all right, let's go with it. If that's what you say. I personally disagree, but you know what? If you guys all say it, I'm going with it. But that's rare. That's rare.
Yeah. You know what we haven't done?
What?
We haven't brought up the Pirates episode, and we're 33 minutes in.
You know
what?
How
do we tie this in?
Okay, no, I had a tie-in.
What's the tie-in?
I had a tie-in, and then I decided not to do it. Because I can't figure out. I know I always want to talk about the Pirates, but that's not a good thing, right?
It's become a tradition now. I feel like no matter what, even if the episode doesn't warrant it, I feel like it's just you have to.
Well, when I was talking about the sickos and the addicts and the wackadoodles that, you're bringing them all this help and all this free money, and you fight it all the way to the end to play pirate. To me, that's insanity. That's insanity.
I mean, what the talk again. Going back, I said this at the start of the episode. John's tactfulness towards this. He was never aggressive against any of it. He had such a respect for this bar, and I believe ultimately for this man to have built it. Again, he lost his footing and let it slip. But that's the difference between from me and the rest of.
Well, he's not totally insane.
No.
The hoarding thing always has me concerned. He's older and he's doesn't really have that young of a heart. But he was, I think, because he was a businessman who made money, he was just shrugging his shoulders and being like, well, I want to fight you on this, but really, how can I? Look what you just did to my place. You just blew up. So his feet were more planted on the ground, whereas, the other lady from the Pirates and the cockroach, the mental cases, totally insane, out of their minds, and I don't know. I see it a lot. Actually, I see it a lot in business, and my advice to any aspiring business people or bar owners there: if you see any of those signs and people to partner with, get away from them. Just get away. You're never going to change them. That's who they are. They're nuts. Nuts. And by the way, speaking of the pirate thing, I think the maybe even me, I get on the merry-go-round and think I can fix things. So if we called it corporate raider, maybe she'd be a little happier, but I don't think so at all. No, there's no pleasing her. No, she was literally going down with the pirate ship.
I think, I would have loved to see, obviously this is not the show and it wouldn't be in the budget or anything like that, but you know what? You want your memorabilia? It's going to go in your house. Have fun there. Get drunk. Give be loudest, whatever.
Yeah, but by the way, we know another mutual acquaintance, Phil, whose name I'm not going to say, who's just a total nut job with memorabilia. And he's taking his guest house and turning it into just a museum.
I hear that's going to be on the reality show.
Maybe. But he's having he's turning it into a museum, and he's the only one that's going to enjoy it, but that's fine. At least you can see the stuff and enjoy it. I could see putting on display for other people, but I really like what John did.
Yeah.
He put it out there for people to enjoy, but not in a way that was cumbersome, in a way that enhanced the bar.
Yeah, and I think, for me, to borrow Gary Busey from Celebrity Apprentice, what I love about Gary, for those of you who don't watch the show, he gets so caught up in the minutia of every task. If it's, let's say, we got to sell, as many meatballs as possible, he'll spend a day making a perfect meatball. Why? Because he'll take pride in that, like, this meatball is symmetrical and whatever the hell he did. Whereas this guy, he took so much pride in the memorabilia.
Speaking of another mental case, Phil.
Exactly. But when so for me, like, he spent all of his efforts on the minutia of the details of this looks great and this is from this and this, whereas, like, it doesn't make you money, dude. People aren't coming here, they may come for some of the memorabilia, but, it's not like they know Dimples, they're coming there because on the wall you have a baseball signed by whoever.
Right.
They're coming because it's the world's first karaoke bar.
I think that's would be your catch is you make it historic and you try to appeal to those studios. But I am fearful because we know the location, and if those studios don't pull the numbers like they used to, it's tough to get people out there when you could go to Hollywood or other places, or even places in Burbank too. Burbank has a lot of bars now.
I mean, you just need some sort of gimmick. I mean, I'd be interested.
Yeah, I want to go. We at the end of the episode, my girlfriend was like, "I want to go," and it was late, so we would have had to gussy up, and I was like, "Nah," and I wanted to save it for when we all go as a show.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
I think so too.
All right, I think that about wraps up the episode.
No, really? Well,
what else you want? Well, where are they now?
Yeah, where are they now?
You guys know, but here's again the tough part for me is you guys are making the comparison of what looks better. I haven't been there, so that's the tough part. I haven't been there before the remodel, So it's for me, this is a tough episode in that regard because you guys have this knowledge, and I don't.
Mm-hmm. So we'll save it for when we.
So when we go, I think here's what I will say to you fans: we will do something with Dimples. We'll go. We'll have fun. We'll at least film like some iPhone video at the very least for you. But we'll do an episode or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. We'll bring some AFTERBUZZes over there. Yeah, it's too easy for us not to do that. And you know what? We need some iTunes love, Phil.
We do.
For this show. This show doesn't get any iTunes love. So please, if you're listening, if you like the show, go to iTunes, rate and comment on us. We don't ask for much on this show, and we definitely don't receive that much.
That's right.
But it's nice. And I think this is, and as far as Bar Rescue goes, I'm so passionate about this show. I have a friend who called me today, goes, you got me into that show, and I love it, and it's really helped me. He works in construction. He's a contractor. Small business, but he's like, it's helping me so much with the things that I do. So.
And I love it, and it's proof to AFTERBUZZ. It's the little show that could, I call it, or we call it.
Yeah, I mean, it's helped. I feel like it's helped us here because the way you force the staff to watch it, but I feel like they take away a lot of good information.
But I think it also it's more of an AFTERBUZZ thing, but it really saw that we shouldn't discriminate against shows just because they may get more viewership on TV than here,
right.
And I love that spirit, and it's the little show that could, and it's really what I love is we're season 3 and we're only continuing to build in terms of what Bar Rescue is, and the fact that people are glumming onto this show in particular. And so I love doing that for John.
I think the word's going to continue to get out. This show's going to grow. I mean, most of the time, the season 3 reality show, you're at your peak, and I don't think so with the show. I think the word's getting out. I think, more word of mouth, more people telling other friends. The brand's getting watered down a little bit with all the rescue shows, Karaoke Rescue, all the other rescues, and they somewhat interest me, but it's just not like this.
We talked about this off air, I believe.
Do you watch Karaoke Rescue? Have you seen it yet?
I don't relate to the show.
I've seen it a few times. The lead guy's actually good. He's not John, but he's good. The problem is I think it's really. I might have said this on another episode, but it's hard to root for guys who own car lots because they're notoriously scumbags. They're notoriously there to screw you and take your money and take advantage of you. So I think personally, that's why it's hard for me to get to champion and root for them. I'd rather see somebody buy a car over the phone. Like I always recommend to people, call the fleet manager, get your price over the phone, pin him down, tell him, give me a price, and I'll come down there with my checkbook. If he doesn't, hang up and call the next guy. I mean, I'd rather see it done that way. I hate the griddle and the shakedown and the beating, and so that's why I can't get behind that one.
Well, very sad, but most of everyone's kind of mentality during the work week is, which bar are we going to? Which bar are we going to?
Right.
So this is, going to a bar is constantly on your mind, whereas like buying a car in terms of that show, how many times am I realistically buying a car? So there's that one. And so this is, in terms of universality, like this is it. This is a moneymaker. I don't relate to the other stuff.
Have you seen Kitchen Nightmares?
Kitchen Nightmares, no.
It's good. I mean, I think he's more cuisine based.
Yeah, and
John's more everything based.
I mean, I feel like John just deals with insane people, and that's part of it. And
Again, because you're administering a drug. That's the first thing when I went to bartending school, the teacher said. So at the end of the day, you're administering a drug, and you guys need to take responsibility for that, and you need to understand that.
Yeah.
But you are. So think of all the wackadoodles that you get. Here's what I think, Phil, and I'm just going to throw this out there. I want to see how long you and I can keep rambling and talking before Steven rolls in the music like he's supposed to.
Well, I thought we were going to do predictions real fast.
Are we?
All right, well...
No, okay, Steven. I'm sorry. Steven, I am so wrong. So, Phil, I'm down on you. Why didn't we go to predictions?
Well, I was saying I think that wraps up the episode.
Okay. Oh, yeah, but then that wouldn't wrap up the episode. That wrap up our episode? Or
No, that would have wrapped up... us and moving to the predictions.
Come on, let's move. Then you just say, let's just move to predictions.
All right, we're in predictions now. I remember what geez, what is the next episode? I always forget this.
Mine got cut off.
Yeah, I think ours did too.
Oh my God, really?
Oh man,
So Phil, this is me and you. Talk about John Taffer would he would just tear our asses out right now.
Steven, what was in the previews? Do you know?
It was cut off.
It was damn it. This is why we have 4 people, so collectively we could get to something. But I'm excited, regardless of what's going to happen. I
don't care. I just miss the girls. I wish we had Chris Leander into here, but we'll get them here next week.
We'll have fun. Steven, you can roll in the music now. There we go. Look at that. All right, so that concludes our episode. We fell off a little bit at the end, but hopefully you enjoyed 95% of it.
Oh my God, John would have us. Jeez, of all episodes to screw up with. Yeah, you don't want... never mind, whatever.
It's been Easter. We're finding our footing,
Passover.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Anyway, all right, Phil, so what? We find you at...
We find us here at AfterBuzz TV on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all that fun stuff. Go to iTunes, rate and comment. Let us know your thoughts because John T likes that for certain. He likes to read your comments.
He loves it. And, Steven, where do we find you?
You guys can find me at Steven Lemieux on Twitter.
All right, thanks, Steven.
And thank you guys for listening.
All right, come back next week to see the girls.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.